The Galactic Council chamber hummed with nervous energy as representatives from 17 star systems gathered for the emergency session. Ambassador Krell of the Vorthan Empire stood at the center podium, his forearms trembling slightly as he activated the holographic display. "Esteemed members," Krell began, his voice carrying across the vast amphitheater. "3 cycles ago, our border patrol detected an unknown vessel entering Council space through the restricted Omega sector." The display flickered to life, showing a grainy image that made several delegates gasp. The ship was massive, easily dwarfing their largest battle cruisers. Its angular design looked primitive compared to their sleek vessels, yet something about its brutal efficiency sent chills through the assembly. Commander Zara of the Alterian Defense Force leaned forward. "How large is this vessel exactly?" "Our sensors indicate it measures approximately 15 kilometers in length," Krell replied. The chamber erupted in whispers. No known civilization built ships that large. It was considered impossible to maintain structural integrity at such scales. "Have they responded to our communications?" asked Elder Thok from the Meridian Collective. "They have," Krell said slowly. "They call themselves humans from a planet designated as Earth. They claim to come in peace." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. A warship of unprecedented size claiming peaceful intentions was like a predator promising not to hunt. Of the Council Navy stood up, his scaled skin reflecting the chamber's lights. "I've analyzed their vessel's design. Those aren't just armor plates. They're layered in a configuration I've never seen. The power readings are off our charts. Whatever reactor they're using could power 3 of our colonies. Surely our combined fleets could handle 1 ship," suggested Ambassador Reen from the Nexus Federation. Vex shook his head grimly. "Look closer at the image. Those aren't decorative protrusions along the hull. By my count, that ship has over 3,000 weapon emplacements. Some appear to be kinetic, others energy-based, and several ... I can't even identify." The weight of his words settled over the Council like a shroud. The most heavily armed Council battleship carried perhaps 200 weapons. This human vessel had 15 times that number. "There's more," Krell added reluctantly. "They've requested a formal meeting. Their representative will arrive in 7 cycles." "Just 1 representative?" Thok asked suspiciously. "1 representative," Krell confirmed, "and their ship. They insist on bringing it to our capital station as a courtesy escort for their diplomat." The absurdity of parking a 15-kilometer warship at their capital as a courtesy wasn't lost on anyone. It was either supreme confidence or a threat barely disguised as diplomacy. Council President Kor, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. His ancient voice commanded immediate attention. "What do we know of these humans? Their biology? Their culture?" "Very little," admitted Krell. "They're bipedal, similar to the Alterians, but without scales. They breathe oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, but their history..." He paused, pulling up new data. "If their transmitted records are accurate, they've only achieved faster-than-light travel in the last 50 cycles." Stunned silence greeted this revelation. Most Council species had taken centuries to develop FTL technology after achieving spaceflight. These humans had done it in mere decades. "That's impossible," Zara protested. "No species advances that quickly without..." "Without what?" Kor interrupted. "Without constant warfare? Without struggle? Perhaps that's exactly what drove them." He gestured to the warship's image. "This isn't the product of peaceful evolution. This is the creation of a species that learned to survive through conflict." The implications hung heavy in the air. The Council had maintained peace for 3,000 cycles through careful diplomacy and mutual cooperation. They had never encountered a species that had weaponized their technology to such an extent. "We have 7 cycles to prepare," Kor announced. "I want every available fleet within jumping distance on standby. Deploy our best diplomatic teams. And double quotes, he paused, looking at each delegate in turn. Pray to whatever deities you believe in that these humans truly come in peace. Because if they don't, that single ship might be enough to end everything we've built. As the council dispersed, each representative carried the same thought. They were about to meet a species that had turned warfare into an art form, and their Titan-class warship was their masterpiece. Asterisk 7 cycles passed like seconds and centuries. Simultaneously, the council's capital station, Haven Prime, bustled with unprecedented military activity. 23 defensive fleets had assembled the largest peacetime gathering in council history. Admiral Vex stood on the command deck of the flagship Eternal Harmony, watching his tactical display with growing unease. "Sir, jump signature detected," his sensor officer announced. "It's massive." Space itself seemed to tear as the human vessel emerged from hyperspace. The Titan-class warship East Prometheus materialized like a metal mountain against the stars. Even though they'd studied the images, seeing it in person was entirely different. The ship's dark hull absorbed light, making it look like a piece of void given form. "By the ancestors," whispered Vex's second-in-command, Captain Jara. The images didn't do it justice. The Prometheus moved with surprising grace for something so massive. Its engines, enormous cylinders that glowed with contained fury, pushed it forward at speeds that defied physics as the council understood. "Admiral, they're broadcasting," the communications officer reported. "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was surprisingly warm, speaking perfect council standard, despite humanity having learned it only cycles ago. "Greetings, Admiral Vex. This is Captain James Walker of the U.E.'s Prometheus. We're requesting docking clearance for our diplomatic shuttle. The Prometheus will maintain a respectful distance of 50,000 kilometers from Haven Prime." Vex noted how the human captain knew his name and rank without being told. They'd done their homework. "Captain Walker, this is Admiral Vex. Your escort is rather larger than we anticipated. Our protocols typically limit visiting vessels to under 1 kilometer. A chuckle came through the comm. "I understand your concern, Admiral. Think of the Prometheus as our embassy mobile, self-sufficient, and regrettably large. We mean no disrespect. Our diplomat, Ambassador Maria Stone, is ready to shuttle over whenever you're prepared to receive her." Through his viewport, Vex watched a small craft emerge from the Prometheus's hangar. The shuttle was sleek and angular, maybe 40 meters long, tiny compared to its mother ship, but still impressively built. "Admiral," Captain Jara said quietly, steadying her console, "I'm detecting something odd. The Prometheus's weapons, they're all powered down, completely cold. It would take them at least 10 minutes to bring them online." Vex frowned. "All of them? Every single one?" "They're running on minimal power, just life support, engines, and basic systems. Sir, they've made themselves vulnerable on purpose." It was a gesture of peace that actually meant something. The Prometheus could have kept its weapons hot, ready to fire at a moment's notice. Instead, they deliberately weakened themselves. "Captain Walker," Vex said into the comm, "we appreciate your gesture of powering down your weapons. Ambassador Stone has clearance to dock at Bay 7. Council President Kor is waiting in the reception hall." "Thank you, Admiral. One more thing, we're transmitting our ship's basic specifications and crew manifest. Full transparency. We have nothing to hide." The data stream that followed was enormous. Deck layouts, crew numbers, even their food stores. The humans were showing all their cards. Vex's tactical officer whistled low. "Sir, there are 15,000 humans on that ship. But look at this, only 2,000 are military. The rest are scientists, engineers. They have a full research division. botanical gardens, even what appears to be an art gallery. It's not just a warship, Jara realized. It's a colony ship, a mobile city. Vex studied the specifications with new understanding. The humans hadn't just built a weapon. They'd built a home that could defend itself. It spoke to a fundamentally different philosophy than the Council's approach of separate military and civilian vessels. On Haven Prime, Council President Kor watched the diplomatic shuttle approach through the transparent aluminum windows of the reception hall. Around him, delegates from all 17 member species waited in formal dress, their anxiety barely concealed. The shuttle landed with precision, its engines whisper quiet despite their obvious power. The ramp lowered, and Ambassador Maria Stone emerged. She was smaller than they'd expected, standing perhaps 1.7 meters tall. Her dark skin contrasted with a simple white diplomatic uniform adorned with minimal decoration. She moved with confidence, but not arrogance, her eyes taking in everything, with obvious intelligence. "President Kor," she said, offering what they'd learned was a human gesture of respect, a slight bow. "I bring greetings from Earth and her colonies. We're honored to finally meet our galactic neighbors." The council chamber had been reconfigured for this historic meeting. Ambassador Stone stood at the speaker's position, facing 17 species representatives. Behind her, the massive hologram of the Prometheus served as a silent reminder of humanity's capabilities. "Before we begin," Stone said, her voice carrying clearly, "I should explain why humanity built the Prometheus and her sister ships." "Sister ships?" President Kor interrupted, his composure cracking slightly. "There are more?" Stone nodded calmly. 12 Titan-class vessels currently, with 6 more under construction. "But please, let me explain why." The tension in the room ratcheted higher. 12 ships that could potentially devastate entire fleets. Stone activated her own holographic display, showing a blue-green world. "This is Earth, our homeworld. For thousands of years, we fought among ourselves. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy cities in seconds. We nearly ended our own civilization 3 times. The display shifted, showing nuclear explosions, devastated landscapes, and mass graves. Several council members looked away from the horrific images. "We learned something from our mistakes," Stone continued. "Peace through strength. Unity through adversity. When we finally reached the stars, we discovered something that terrified us more than our own violence. Past the universe's silence." She gestured to a star map. "We found dead worlds, Ambassador Krell. Civilizations that had risen and fallen without explanation. Ancient ruins on dozens of planets. Something, or many somethings, had wiped them out." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They too had found such worlds, but had never spoken of them openly. "So we built the Titans," Stone said simply. "Not to conquer, but to survive. Every human colony has one assigned as guardian. The Prometheus is actually our oldest and smallest." "Smallest?" Admiral Vex couldn't hide his disbelief. Stone smiled slightly. "The newest class is 22 kilometers long. But here's what you need to understand. We've never fired them in anger. Not once. They exist as deterrents, as shields, as arcs if necessary. The weapons are for whatever killed those ancient civilizations, not for you." Elder Thok leaned forward. "You speak of threats we don't know. What have you discovered?" Stone's expression grew serious. 3 years ago, our deep space monitoring station detected something. Ships, if you can call them that, moving between galaxies. They were ... harvesting a star. The hologram shifted to show grainy telescope imagery. Dark shapes, impossibly vast, surrounded a distant star. As the council watched, the star dimmed and died over the course of mere days. "Impossible," breathed Commander Zara, Stars don't just die like that. They do when something feeds on them, Stone replied grimly. We call them devourers. We don't know what they are, where they're from, or what they want. But they're out there, and they're moving in this general direction. At their current pace, they'll reach this galaxy in perhaps 200 years. President Kor stood slowly. And you built your Titans to fight these devourers? To try, Stone admitted. We don't know if our weapons will even scratch them, but we had to do something. We couldn't just wait to die. The revelation hung in the air like a physical weight. The Council had worried about humanity's warships, never considering they might be civilization's salvation. There's more, Stone added, pulling up new data. We've been monitoring your space for the last year. You have 17 inhabited systems, 43 colony worlds, and a population of roughly 3 trillion beings. Your defensive fleets are well organized, but built for peacekeeping, not war. Several delegates bristled at the implied criticism. But Stone raised a hand peacefully. I mean no offense. Your peaceful cooperation is admirable. It's what humanity aspires to achieve. But peace without the ability to defend it is just delayed extinction. We've learned that the hard way. What? What are you proposing? Kor asked, though he suspected he knew. An alliance, Stone said simply. We share our technology, our shipbuilding expertise, our weapons research. In return, you share your scientific knowledge, your resources, your unity. Together, we might stand a chance against whatever's out there. Admiral Vex stood up. You're asking us to militarize, to abandon 3,000 cycles of peace. No, Stone corrected. I'm asking you to prepare. There's a difference between being peaceful and being defenseless. Humanity learned that difference through bitter experience. We're offering you the chance to learn it without paying the same price we did. The council chamber fell silent as each delegate grappled with this new reality. Asterisk, 3 days after the initial meeting, Admiral Vex found himself aboard the Prometheus. Captain Walker had invited a small council delegation to tour the vessel and witness a capabilities demonstration. Walking through the ship's corridors was like entering another world. The walls thrummed with barely contained power, and the air itself seemed charged with potential. This is our primary command center, Walker explained, leading them into a vast spherical chamber. Hundreds of humans worked at stations arranged in 3-dimensional space, some actually standing on what should have been walls or the ceiling, held by localized gravity fields. How do you coordinate so many crew? Asked Captain Jara, her eyes wide with wonder. Walker smiled. Neural link-assisted communication. Not full mind reading, but emotional and intentional resonance. Every crew member can sense the general state and needs of their section. It lets us operate as a genuine collective while maintaining individuality. Elder Thok examined one of the stations more closely. This technology, it's biological and mechanical fusion? We call it biotech synthesis, Walker confirmed. The ship isn't just steel and circuits, it's partially organic. It can heal minor damage, adapt to threats, even learn from encounters. The Prometheus is as much a living being as it is a machine. They moved to an observation deck where the full council fleet was visible. 23 of their finest ships arranged in defensive formation, and yet the Prometheus dwarfed them all. Now for the demonstration, Walker said, his tone becoming serious. We're going to show you what one Titan can do. Don't worry, all weapons will be targeting empty space, and will use only 10% power. He spoke into his communicator. Bridge, initiate defense pattern Alpha, 10% capacity. What happened next changed the Council's understanding of warfare forever. The Prometheus transformed. Armor plates shifted and reconfigured, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden beneath. Thousands of points of light erupted from the ship, as it fired simultaneously in all directions. Energy beams, plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, and exotic weapons. The Council couldn't identify filled space with a deadly lightshow, but it wasn't random. Each shot followed a precise pattern, creating overlapping fields of fire that left no approach. Vector safe. The ship's point defense systems activated, shooting down imaginary missiles and fighters with impossible accuracy. Shield generators created layered barriers that flickered between dimensions. "My gods," Admiral Vex whispered. "It's not just a warship, it's a fortress." "Now watch this," Walker said. The Prometheus suddenly accelerated, its massive bulk moving with fighter-like agility. It rolled, pitched, and yawed through maneuvers that should have torn it apart. Inertial dampeners kept the crew stable as the ship danced through space like something a fraction of its size. "How?" Jara asked, her voice barely audible. "Gravity manipulation," Walker explained. "We don't fight physics, we rewrite it locally." The Prometheus generates its own gravitational field, allowing maneuvers that would otherwise be impossible. The demonstration ended with the ship's main gun, a weapon that ran nearly half the length of the vessel, firing a single shot. Energy beam was visible across the entire system, a lance of pure destruction that could have cracked a moon. "That was 10%? Vex asked weakly. Walker nodded. "At full power, that beam can punch through a planet's crust. We've never had to use it, and I pray we never will. But if the Devourers come, we'll need every bit of firepower we can muster." Ambassador Stone, who had remained quiet during the tour, finally spoke. "This is what humanity offers the Council. Not just our ships, but the knowledge to build your own. We've already prepared preliminary designs adapted to each of your species' needs." She activated a hologram showing 17 different ship designs, each incorporating Council technology with human innovations. The Vorthans, with their four-armed physiology, could manage multi-layered command systems we couldn't dream of. The Alterians' natural resistance to radiation would let them use power, sources we find too dangerous. The Meridian Collective's hive mind tendencies could create unprecedented coordination between fleet elements. President Kor studied the designs thoughtfully. "You've put considerable thought into this." "We have," Stone confirmed. "Because we need you as much as you need us. Humanity has the weapons, but we're only one species. The Council has 17 different perspectives, 17 different approaches to problem solving. Together, we're more than the sum of our parts. And if we refuse?" Thok asked. Stone's expression grew sad. "Then we'll defend our own space and hope it's enough. But when the Devourers come, and they will come, we'll all face them alone, and alone we'll all fall." The Grand Council convened for the final vote exactly 10 days after humanity's first contact. The debate had raged for 7 straight days, with factions forming and reforming as new arguments emerged. Now, as President Kor called for order, the chamber fell into tense silence. "We stand at a crossroads," Kor began, his ancient voice carrying the weight of history. "For 3,000 cycles, we've maintained peace through diplomacy, trade, and mutual respect. Now, we're asked to embrace a different path: peace through strength, unity through shared purpose against a distant threat." Ambassador Krell stood. "First, the Vorthan Empire votes yes. We've verified humanity's data independently. The Devourers are real, and they're coming. We cannot ignore this threat." One by one, the representatives cast their votes. The Alterians, with their warrior tradition dormant but not forgotten, voted yes. The Meridian Collective, after much deliberation, agreed. The smaller systems, recognizing their vulnerability, unanimously supported the alliance. Only the Nexus. Federation hesitated. Ambassador Ween stood slowly. "We've been the voice of pacifism for a millennium. This vote betrays everything we've stood for. He paused, looking at the image of the Prometheus on the display. But extinction betrays it even more. The Nexus Federation votes yes. The final tally: 17 votes in favor, none against. Captain Walker and Ambassador Stone stood before the assembly. Stone spoke first. This alliance isn't just about weapons and ships. It's about combining our strengths. Human determination with Council wisdom. Our innovation with your stability. Walker added, effective immediately. We're transmitting the complete technical specifications for Titan-class vessels. We're also dispatching engineering teams to each of your primary shipyards. But remember, these ships are tools, not solutions. The real strength will come from working together. Over the following months, the transformation was remarkable. Council shipyards, dormant for centuries, roared back to life. Each species adapted the Titan design to their needs. The Vorthans built a ship with 4 command cores. The Alterians created a vessel that could split into independent sections. The collective designed a ship that was actually 17 smaller vessels that could merge into one super Titan. But the most surprising development came from the peaceful Nexus Federation. They built a ship focused entirely on defense shield generators that could extend to protect entire fleets, repair systems that could fix other vessels mid-battle, and communication arrays that could coordinate thousands of ships across light years. Captain Walker stood with Admiral Vex on Haven Prime's observation deck 6 months later, watching the first Council-built Titan undergo trials. It's remarkable, Walker said. Your people learned in months what took us decades. Vex nodded. We had good teachers. But more importantly, we had motivation. Your arrival didn't just bring technology, it brought purpose. Any regrets about the alliance? Walker asked. Only one, Vex admitted. I wish we'd met you sooner. 3,000 cycles of peace made us complacent. We confused being civilized with being safe. Ambassador Stone joined them, carrying a datapad. I just received word from Earth. The deep space monitors have detected movement. The Devourers have accelerated. New estimate is 150 years. Will it be enough time? Vex asked. It will have to be, Stone replied. But look at what we've accomplished. In just 6 months. Imagine what we can do with a century. The observation deck's windows showed the combined fleet Council ships and human vessels training together. The exercises were clumsy at first, but improving daily. Different species learning each other's tactics, compensating for respective weaknesses. President Kor's voice came over the station's communication system. All citizens and guests, this is a historic moment. The first Council Titan, Unity's Shield, has successfully completed its trials. But more than that, today marks the birth of something new, the United Galactic Defense Force. Cheers erupted throughout the station. On the Prometheus, Captain Walker received a message from Earth. He read it and smiled. What is it? Stone asked. Earth is sending the rest of the fleet. All 12 Titans. They're also accelerating production of the new models. He looked at the celebrating Council members. They believe in this alliance. As the Unity's shield took its position alongside the Prometheus, the two massive vessels seemed to communicate. Silently, humanity's experience paired with the Council's innovation. Together, they faced the dark between the stars, no longer afraid of what might come. The Council had frozen in fear at first contact with humanity's Titan. Now, they stood together, ready to face whatever the universe might bring. The age of preparation had begun, and with it, the hope that when the Devourers finally arrived, they would find not scattered, helpless prey, but a united galaxy ready to fight for its survival.